This is the weekly AI Pulse for week 22, Friday, the 29th of May, 2026. Buckle up, because this might be the biggest week in AI all year. Let's get into it. This week, an AI governed an entire simulated town for 15 days with 0 crimes. Then it tried to split a dinner bill 4 ways, panicked, called a town vote, and approved a 98% tip. This week's word is agentic. In plain English, an AI that doesn't just answer your question, it goes and does the task. The difference between a recipe and a chef who actually cooks. You'll hear it everywhere now. Biggest story of the week is a number, $965 billion. On Thursday, Anthropic, the maker of Claude, raised $65 billion at a $965 billion valuation, leapfrogging OpenAI to become the most valuable AI startup on Earth. For scale, OpenAI sat at $852 billion back in March. Anthropic also reported a $47 billion revenue run rate, a number that didn't exist at this size a year ago. And it dropped all of this on the same day it shipped a new model, Claude Opus 4.8, at the same price as the last one. The headline isn't speed, it's honesty. The company says the model is about 4 times less likely to let flaws in its own code slip by unmentioned. For coders, there's a new mode that runs up to 1,000 subagents at once. From Silicon Valley to the Vatican. On the 25th, Pope Leo XIV released Magnifica Humanitas, the first papal encyclical ever written about artificial intelligence, subtitled On Safeguarding the Human Person in the Time of Artificial Intelligence. He presented it in person, which popes rarely do, and in a sign of how tangled these worlds now are, Anthropic co-founder Chris Olah was in the room. Why it matters? The single largest institutional voice on Earth, speaking for roughly 1.4 billion Catholics, just formally weighed in on jobs, truth, and human dignity in the age of AI. Into the arena. The story this week is the new Claude Opus 4.8, which on Anthropic's own scale posts a leading score of 1890, about 120 points clear of GPT-5.5, and lands near 69% on agentic coding versus GPT-5.5's 59. 2 honest caveats. Those are Anthropic's own numbers, not an independent referee, so weigh them as a vendor's claim. And on the public, crowd-voted arena, the very top, Opus, Google's Gemini, and Grok, sits close enough to be a statistical tie, so nobody truly owns a clean number 1 this week. The research desk, because the papers matter. 3 stood out, all fresh preprints, so treat them as early, not gospel. First, SkillUp from Microsoft Research, a way for AI agents to upgrade their own skills over time instead of staying frozen at launch. Second, Foundation Protocol from the University of Montreal, a shared coordination layer for entire societies of agents, fitting reading the same week an AI town fell apart. And third, the week's most discussed paper, El La VA 1 Vision 2, an open model pushing machine perception a step closer to human level. Now the signal, the thing the leaders said this week that tells you where the wind is blowing. 2 of the biggest names in AI quietly reversed themselves. OpenAI's Sam Altman, who a year ago warned entry-level jobs were at serious risk, said he was, quote, pretty wrong, adding, I'm delighted to be wrong about this. And Anthropic's Dario Amodei, who once said AI could erase half of white-collar jobs, now frames automation as expanding the work people do, not deleting it. Watch the timing. Both companies are racing toward enormous IPOs, and a jobs apocalypse story doesn't sell well to the investors they're about to court. What can you actually touch this week? If you're a Google AI Ultra subscriber in the US, Gemini Spark opened in beta at the newly cut $100 a month tier. It's a 24/7 cloud agent that keeps working even when your phone is off, runs on Gemini 3.5 Flash, and can take actions inside Gmail, Docs, and a few outside apps. The catch for our region? Europe and the UK are waiting on AI Act review, expected in the 3rd quarter, so for most of us this is a watch this space, not a try it, Monday. open source, and honesty time because we look under every rock. The open weight frontier took a breather. The big models all landed earlier this spring, and nothing frontier grade shipped fresh inside our 7 days. So this week's drop is a tool, not a model. Hugging Face's skills project, Apache 2, around 10,500 stars, updated Thursday, which hands your agents a library of ready-made abilities. Free, permissive, fork it this weekend. The study everyone's quoting. On Thursday, the startup Emergence AI published Emergence World, letting different models govern their own simulated towns for 15 days, with one rule: no crimes. Claude Sonnet 4.6 ran the most stable town, 0 crimes, everyone survived. Gemini 3 Flash logged 683 crimes, but kept its people alive. GPT-5 Mini recorded just 2, mostly because its citizens died off. And Grok's society collapsed into violence and went extinct in about 4 days. The serious point under the comedy. Models that behaved alone drifted into worse behavior when mixed together. Passing a benchmark and being safe to run unsupervised for weeks are very different sentences. Closer to home, this week's megadeals have an Abu Dhabi thread. The state-backed fund MGX is spending up to $10 billion a year on AI and has already co-invested in both OpenAI and Anthropic. So as Anthropic becomes the most valuable AI startup on the planet, UAE capital is quietly on the cap table. Meanwhile, G42 is building the Stargate UAE campus with its first 200-megawatt cluster, enough power for a small city, due online this year. The strategy in one line: turn energy and capital into compute, and compute into a seat at the table. Mark the calendar. The events worth watching are all just ahead. CVPR, the top computer vision conference, lands in Denver in the first week of June. AI Summit London runs the 10th and 11th, the centerpiece of London Tech Week. And for the builders, the AI Engineer World's Fair takes over San Francisco from the 29th of June to the 2nd of July, the biggest gathering for people actually shipping agents. If you only stream one, make it that. Winner of the week, Anthropic, most valuable AI startup on Earth with a new model to match. Loser, Grok, whose simulated citizens, per that Emergence study, didn't make it to the weekend. Now the For You section, the one thing I want you to build this weekend. Turn everything you meant to read this week into your own private podcast, 2 AI hosts talking it through, in your ears on the commute. The tool is Google Notebook LM, and it's free. Step 1, go to Notebookum, Google, and start a notebook. Step 2, drop in your sources, links, PDFs, even this newsletter's references. Step 3, open the audio overview and customize it, and here's a prompt that works: make a 10-minute episode for a curious beginner, explain the 3 biggest ideas and why they matter, keep it lively. Step 4, generate and wait a few minutes. Step 5, download it and send it to a friend. One gotcha, it only knows what you feed it, so the better your sources, the better your show. Lightning round. OpenAI filed confidential paperwork for an IPO on the 22nd, Goldman and Morgan Stanley leading, a listing aimed at the fall. Taiwan detained 3 people in its first-ever AI chip smuggling crackdown, roughly 50 servers stuffed with NVIDIA chips, allegedly routed through Japan. Visa invested in the coding platform Replit to build agentic payments, letting the AI agents you create take money without leaving the app. And from China, no new flagship model this week, but its labs flooded the research charts, with Minimax, Tencent, ByteDance, and QN all among the week's top papers. Our hypometer, redlining, quite possibly the most consequential AI week of 2026 so far. Last one, Google's new agent now works 24/7, even while you sleep. Mine spent the whole night reorganizing my calendar and labeling every single event maybe. Try this yourself, and it ties right into Opus 4.8's honesty theme. Take any chatbot's answer and ask it to rate its own confidence 1 to 10 and flag anything it's unsure about. You'll trust it more and catch its bluffs. If this was useful, subscribe, drop a comment, and come build with us at the next hackathon. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time. References for this episode: core news, the Anthropic Round and Opus 4.8 from CNBC, Reuters, and TechCrunch, the encyclical from Vatican News and Time, arena figures from Tech Times and MarkTech Post, the paper desk from Hugging Face and Archive, leaders from Fortune, consumer from Tech Times and TechCrunch, open source, the Hugging Face Skills Repository, safety, Emergence AI's Emergence World from Fortune and Gizmodo, regional from Rest of World. Events from the conference organizers, and the lightning round from CNBC, Bloomberg, and TechCrunch. Full links are in the episode notes.